today's show, we are going to get into the Mavericks, their secondary creator options if the Dragic thing doesn't go through.
Summer League Mavs. I'm so excited to talk about them.
The wine, the wine, the wine.
On today's Locked On Mavs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks Podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
The vibes are immaculate.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com. The Summer League Serendipitous Serenade. The one we're thinking, what you got for me, Isaac Harris?
We're saving all of our Summer League breakdown, synergy numbers, second spectrum, all of the breakdown of Summer League for the third segment. So make sure you stay tuned for that because there's some quality basketball being played. Has there been one player? Let's just not even talk about the Mavericks right now. One player in Summer League that's really stood out to you that you're like, oh, that's surprising, or he's been super fun, and you can't say like a top 3 pick.
Ooh, I've been interested in. Yeah, if it's not a top 3 pick, like Jalen Green's been really interesting, but he was top 3. I've been really interested in Sengun. Alfred Sengun has been really interesting. Like some of the moves he can pull off. It's very Jokic-esque. Every once in a while, he'll pull off a move and you'll be like, I'm interested. His teammate Josh Christopher is also interesting to me. The announcers are comparing him to Drew Holiday, and I was like, maybe we slow down with the defense there.
Okay. Davion Mitchell, though, his defense was super impressive against Book Night the other night. I was going to say Sengun. I was so curious on when you see a guy like that pull off the post moves that he does in Turkey. It's like, will you be able to do those moves over here? And he was balling. And he's fun. He's a lot of fun.
He has been. And there's so many of those guards that take pressure off of him, basically. He just kind of cleans up down there and just does his thing. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey destroyed the Mavericks in the first game, so that's a guy that's kind of obvious. But
yeah, Tyrese Maxey's a lot of fun. I said Davion Mitchell. I think he's been fun. I like his. People kind of slept on him it was weird. He had a weird draft range was top 5, and then he kind of got But I'm so curious what Sacramento does with their 3 guards moving forward in the future. But
it's very strange. On today's show, we're going to talk about guards and creator guards for the Mavericks, other options, plus the Dragic situation continues on. Today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com right now. Tell them that Locked On sent you. We will talk about the Dallas Mavericks Summer League team. We'll probably do that in the third segment. So if you're coming here just for Summer League talk about that game that just happened last night, that's interesting. Go to the third segment. We will talk about it there. Okay. Mark Stein on his green room the other night. He's been hosting these green rooms, and they've been really interesting. And the funniest thing to me is that there's always the first 5 questions, 3 of them are Mavericks questions. I love it. There's so many Mavericks fans on green room. I can't help but think we were responsible for some of those. Putting them on there.
I think it's Stein too. The Mavs,
the connection.
For so years.
But it's just so many Mavs fans in green room right now. Stein said that the Mavericks couldn't get any traction on a Dragic trade, which sounds a little bit definitive, sounds a little bit like it's kind of over, sounds a little bit like the talks have either ceased, stalled, or are not really ongoing at the moment. He did say it in the green room, so it's not like it's a report. It's not like he put it out there. But to me, it's interesting because what if the Mavericks can't get Dragic? And what if the Raptors don't buy him out? Then what do the Mavericks do? Or should they wait?
Yeah, I think that's the dilemma they're probably going to be in, if not already, that if Toronto's saying, hey, we have this expiring contract and $19 million, why don't we're just hold on to it unless you're going to give up assets. We've covered that a million times. But if you're Dallas and you're saying, okay, that was our pivot from Lowry or anyone else, like that was our pivot to our secondary creator in Dragic, but now you might not get him because, I don't think Toronto's going to buy him out, but I think there's a good chance that the other team will buy him out. Whatever deal that they put him in to go get someone else, and he goes to whatever team, insert whatever team, and they're like, okay, let's work out the buyout. Then there's a good chance that then he's going to come to Dallas at the trade deadline. So, but if you're Dallas, can you wait until then to get Goran Dragic for free? That's the dilemma I think they're in. Not that because if not, then it is, okay, well, do we have to go get another creator now? Like, do we have to go around the league and try to find another guy? Or is it like if they pull off a marketing trade over the next day or so, then they're like, okay, like we're going to bring marketing off the bench with Brunson, whoever. I think we can like keep the ship afloat and then just try to get Dragic for free around the deadline. You're still taking a chance, but yeah.
It goes back to the question, why do the Mavericks need a secondary creator to begin with, and how badly do they need one, right? And so then that leads you to, okay, well, are they just getting Dragic because it's a fit because he wants to come here, or are they really do need a secondary creator and they need it for a specific reason? And I think there's a bunch of reasons. One of the reasons, take some load off of Luka. Some of that is in the regular season, that they need to take some of the load off of Luka so that he's more fresh for the playoffs, so that he can be more fresh for fourth quarters and things like that. I think that is definitely a thing, especially coming off of this Olympic run and all that. Partying with Boban after signing that massive contract, he's going to need some help and some support there. I think another reason is to kind of like boost Porzingis a little bit. I think they need that secondary creator with him to try and get him going. I think he needs that type of a point guard to try and help him. And so if you look at that and you say, okay, well, they do need him. They do need this guy during the regular season. And it will take some time, I think, for this Mavericks team to get used to a secondary creator if he's going to have the type of volume that will be effective for the Mavericks and will actually make it worth it. If he's going to have a usage percentage that's maybe higher than Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, then all of a sudden that's a guy you have to fold in. Like, if you're folding in the cheese in a recipe, like it's going to take time. You just got to fold that cheese in. If you've watched Schitt's Creek, like fold in the cheese, keep folding the cheese. How do you do that? It just says you just fold it. You fold it in the cheese. That's one of my favorites.
I thought you just made up that analogy, and I'm like, that could be a weird analogy, but
Moira and her son, who's David, whose name I almost forgot, were making this recipe, and it just said fold in the cheese, and Moira just kept reading fold in the cheese over and over and over again, and he's like, but that's not telling me what fold means. He's like, I don't understand. So the Mavericks are going to need to fold in this secondary creator, and it's going to take a while, I think, to make it seamless, to make it work, to get the vibe, to get the the chemistry and everything, which chemistry matters for the Mavericks. And so can they afford to wait?
Unless it's like, hey, we don't have to worry about the timing part because it's Dragic and he already has the chemistry.
And it doesn't matter, which that factors into it.
And if they feel like this is mainly a postseason problem and not a regular season problem. If they're looking at it saying, okay, we know we need a secondary creator in the playoffs because we don't want Luka just being completely gassed in the fourth. We need more offense. But if they're looking at it saying, Luka, the whole, Brunson, these guys, like we can make do in the regular season and win a lot of basketball games. I could see that mindset, but let's just do the what if. What if Dallas says, okay, Dragic, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. If it does, there's a small chance that it happens at the deadline and it's for free. It's after he gets bought out. There's a lot of things that still has to happen at that point. And even if it does happen, then cool. You're going to get him for free, even if you go out and get another creator now. So are there other creators around the league that are in that same ballpark of expiring contracts, bigger expirings? It doesn't cut into future money that you could go out right now and say, could we put a similar package together for that player? That's where I think if Dallas has to pivot from Dragic now, do they have other options?
Because we've also heard from guys like Zach Lowe and others, the Mavericks are going to get their secondary creator, right? He's like, I think they're still going to get it. I think they still have somebody else. We've heard from a couple other people, it seems like the Mavericks still want that type of player. And that was one of Cuban's big, like talking points before the offseason that he said to that school or whatever. I love that. That's like the talking point we go back to a lot.
It's one of the biggest quotes of the offseason. It can't be overlooked of Cuban's quote at the school here in Dallas at the beginning of the
high
offseason.
School, right?
Yeah, about the need for a secondary creator, about how it was almost kind of like they misjudged the KP thing. They didn't expect that need for a secondary creator was going to be as big as what they thought. So that's telling. So it's you can't ignore that comment. So that's why the need for a secondary creator is at the forefront of everything. Steel.
It is steel up at the forefront. So coming up, let's talk about some of the other options the Mavericks could if they decided not to wait on Dragic, or they could get these guys and get Dragic later if he's going to get bought out anyway, right? They can do both of these things. So if they do have to wait on Dragic and they are just going to wait on a buyout, who are some of the guys that could come in and be a stopgap or could potentially be a secondary creator of the future for the Dallas Mavericks? We'll get into that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about our new sponsor. Don't go anywhere. I got to tell you about this. Ooh. It's Sweatblock. There are so few things in life that are just not super easy to talk about, and one of those is sweat. It's like, okay, I can point out, like spinach in somebody's teeth or something in somebody's teeth, or if you've got an eyelash on your cheek. Like, I can talk about that, but what do you tell somebody if they have sweat under their armpits, right? Like, can you just say, hey, keep your arms down, like stop flapping around? Stop, what do you do? What do you tell those people? Now, if you feel comfortable enough, you can tell them to go to Sweatblock. Sweatblock is the perfect place. It's doctor created, doctor recommended. They're these sweat wipes. You take them, and when your armpit is dry, it's not sweaty, you wipe it under your arms, and it works for 7 days per use. They've tested this on firemen going into burning buildings. They've tested this. The guy that talked to us today from Sweatblock came and told us that he tested it himself. He ran like a couple miles, put one wipe under one arm, didn't do a wipe under the other one. His one side that didn't do it, drenched in sweat, just pit stains all over the place. The other one, completely dry. It's insane. It's insane how this product works. Sweatblock, go check it out. It's featured and tested on the Rachel Ray Show by firefighters, the bestseller on Amazon for the past 10 years, over 13,000 reviews, and they have a money-back guarantee. If it does not make your pits dry, it will not bleed your wallet. So you can get the money back for sure. Go to sweatblock.com or find them in your CVS stores. You get 20% off at sweatblock.com, though. Use the promo code LOCKEDON to get 20% off at sweatblock.com to get their towelettes. They also have deodorant. They have lotion. They have all kinds of other products you can check out as well. Go to Amazon or CVS, but at sweatblock.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON. Also, want to tell you about rockauto.com. Rockauto.com is the best way to go get your auto parts for whatever car you have. There's so many different makes and models. For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 at a chain store. $353. $216 from rockauto.com. You're saving a bunch of cash that you can go spend on Sweatblock or something else, or Built Bars. Rockauto.com is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low and the same for every single customer. There's not tiers. There's not all that other stuff that you have to try and sift through. They can point you directly to the parts available for your car. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. They know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some other options. So we've been talking about Goran Dragic, and he seems to be the, if like boom or bust for Goran Dragic. If the Mavs don't get don't get Dragic, then they don't get their secondary creator, which has been maybe their biggest target of the offseason, is to get somebody like that. They started with Lowry, that didn't work, then moved on to Dragic. There was other options, I guess, in there. And so now the Dragic thing seems like it's just continuing on. The Raptors, we went through it with Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors. Isaac and I have talked about it endlessly on different videos on YouTube. You can go check out some of those if you want to. The reasons why the Raptors aren't just going to give him up for nothing. Right now, at least. Not until the trade deadline. So what are some other options that you can see if the Mavericks do have to wait on Dragic, or if they never get him?
Yeah, so let's just keep that same criteria. Let's do vets around the league, ball handler / creators, expiring contracts or near expiring contracts. 3 guys that you could see that could be attainable: Ricky Rubio, Terry Rozier, Eric Bledsoe. If I had to rank those, Terry Rozier is clearly number 1 on that list.
Because you've been talking about him for like 8 weeks now.
Yes, I would love Terry Rozier on the Mavs. shot 40% from three last year, 2 years ago, 38% from three this past season. He's on that expiring for Charlotte. You don't they just got rid of Devontae Graham, Malik Monk, but they draft James Bouknight. I'm assuming Rozier still has a big part on that team. So I don't think that they would trade him, but if they think they're going to lose him for nothing, could Dallas step in and say, hey, let's give you a similar type of deal that they were talking about with Dragic? Would they do the Dwight, Josh Green, whatever it is type of move? So,
or what happens if Bouknight is just like incredible and they're like, we got to play this guy and we don't want to just hold on to some of these guards. We want to, move on from Rozier so we can give minutes to Bouknight. Like that's a possibility too. It may not happen before the season starts, but it may happen in the middle of the season.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with Rozier. I would love him. Ricky Rubio is interesting because Cleveland just traded for him, and I get why they traded for him. They're probably not going to try to flip him again, but he's on expiring too at 17.8. And we just, watched him put up 37 on Team USA. But that's another type of player though, that would give you another playmaker, another guy who can like run the offense when Luka's, not out there. It's not, you're not asking Rubio to give you 30 a night. It's not that type of score, but he can at least run the offense. He's another playmaker out there. So I don't know what Cleveland would do with that. The Eric Bledsoe name, as soon as Eric Bledsoe went to Memphis in that deal with New Orleans, Chris Haynes immediately reports and say, hey, he's going to be going elsewhere. And you're like, we still haven't heard anything about the Eric Bledsoe thing. He makes $18.1 million this year. And then when you look at some cap stuff, you'll see 19.3 for next year, but only 3.9 of that is guaranteed. So it's kind of an expiring contract because only 4 of that is guaranteed for the next season. If it just goes whatever, if somebody trades for him and you're like, hey, we got to cut bait. But how do you feel about those 3 names? Like if they traded for Eric Bledsoe tomorrow and you're like, oh, that's our stopgap until hopefully we get Dragic. Are you upset about it?
The Bledsoe one is interesting. The Terry Rozier one's obviously the number 1. I think Rubio is my number 3. Bledsoe one is in the middle there.
You would take Bledsoe over Rubio.
I think I would. I think Bledsoe's a much better defender, and he's a little bit better of a shooter, even though Bledsoe's like not the best shooter, but Rubio's shooting has just never come around. I loved Rubio when he came out of when he was coming into the draft. Like I loved that guy, and I was like, if only he could get a shot. And like, last year on Minnesota, he shot 30% from 3. He's like every other year he kind of shoots a little bit better, but he's still like 33% over the last 4 years.
Let me see what Bledsoe's numbers are, because I didn't know he was the second coming of Steph Curry.
No, that's what I'm saying is he's not that much, but he's a little bit better than that. Okay, I'll do the same time
Hold on,
frame.
put him in the 3-point contest.
34%.
34 last year.
So they're not. Neither of them are good, right? So you're not comparing one to the other. But I know Bledsoe's defense is better than Rubio's, and that interests me. I think Zach Lowe even said like he's basically Patrick Beverley like, at this point in his career. Like he used to be the way better offensive player, and you'd expect him to score and all that. But at this point in his career, that's what he is, and so that would at least give you some defense. The creator numbers are
played with. He played his first season in Milwaukee with Jason Kidd. Or Jason Kidd's first season in Milwaukee was with Eric Bledsoe.
I was gonna say, okay, yeah. So there's that connection.
Great days. Yeah, I don't know if Bledsoe ran on Christmas, but
there's still those. Or if he went to the water park with him.
That was not true, Nick.
Yeah, that one wasn't true. It's still a funny joke though. But the Bledsoe one is interesting to me. If they didn't want Dragic for $19 million, I don't think they're going to want Bledsoe for $19 million. That just doesn't seem like a thing the Mavericks are going to want to do, though.
Yeah, yes, unless it's like something super cheap and basically for free. And
it wouldn't be free for them. They still have to give something up to get in. They'd have to give up Dwight and Willie and something else to make the money work. Burke probably.
But if it's like if you're looking at Dwight, Trey Burke, and 2 seconds. And they're looking at it saying, we don't want to give up Dwight, but you're also getting, even if you cut Bledsoe next year, that's what a $6 million difference, $7 million difference between Dwight's 11 next year and, the $4 million guaranteed to Bledsoe. So you're still at least saving $7 million cap. But that's a good point.
I don't know if you know this. They see Dwight as an asset, though, Isaac.
That's very real. Let me just throw you these last three names. If they wanted to go even bigger and say, all right, not an expiring contract, not, the older vet, would you be interested? Could you get your hands on DeJounte Murray or Markelle Fultz? And would that be worth it for Dallas to give up assets for one of those two guys? Are they good enough to be the secondary guy that you're trying to, picture in your head? Is Markelle Fultz 16.5 this year, 16.5 next, 17 after that?
Million.
DeJounte Murray at 15, 16, and 17. So both under contract for the next 3 seasons. So a bigger investment in one of those guys.
The Fultz one is interesting because you're like, well, why would they give up Fultz? They just gave him that deal and all that. They just drafted Jalen Suggs, who is looking pretty interesting. They have Cole Anthony still. Like, they have some guards.
RJ Hampton.
Yeah, I get it.
I got a lot of people there.
They have a bunch of different dudes there, and so maybe they're trying to weed out some of those. Maybe our boy Jamal Mosley is like, I don't like Markelle Fultz. He's like, he's not the point guard of the future for me. He's like, I love Jalen Suggs. Or maybe he takes the Rick path and he hates rookies and he only plays Markelle Fultz. DeJounte Murray to me is not a secondary creator. Like, I don't know if he answers that question for you.
Good defense though.
Great defense. It's in there in the Eric Bledsoe role. So you're like, yeah, okay, I get the defense for sure. Younger guy, we're taking a risk on him. That'd be interesting. But yeah, I would go for DeJounte Murray for sure for the upside. That's like a play that you would definitely go for. But I don't think it's answering your secondary creator question right now.
Yeah. If Dallas got really desperate and they're like, hey, we couldn't get Lowry, but we really want to just take some big swing. Are you ready for the drop of what you would need if they traded for D'Angelo Russell?
The wine, the wine, the wine, the wine.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk about this MVP, the best basketball you've ever seen, the Mavs Summer League, and we're never going to talk about D'Angelo Russell on the Mavs again.
But before we do that, let me tell you about betonline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to put down some money, to gamble, to bet, to wager some money on sports. Go there right now. Can you bet on Summer League games? Is that possible?
Oh, I think what's the emergency number or what's the helpline? I might give you that one.
I don't think you can bet on Summer League on betonline.ag, but you can bet on a whole bunch of things. You can bet on Russell Westbrook triple doubles. Over or under 25.5 triple doubles next season. They're both minus 120, so you get the same odds either way.
That's a good question. I think it's the rebounds that
he's getting the boards. He's getting the boards.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. Will AD and them move out of the way
No, Russ will push them.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the over.
DeMar DeRozan points per game in the regular season. Over or under 18.5.
Under.
Ooh, that's a pretty steep drop for him, but there you go. There's a bunch of other things like that. There's fun stuff like that. You can go to futures. There's some FIBA stuff. There's martial arts, soccer, tennis. There's all kinds of different things on BetOnline. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. That means 50% more money that you put in. Get it for free. Then go wager on it. Bet on something. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into Summer League, our favorite thing of the year. I just needed a dance beat with it. The Dallas Mavericks fall to the Utah Jazz in a sudden death overtime game. Like, what? It's one of those things every year in Summer League. Every year in Summer League, you forget that these things happen. And then you're like, oh, yeah. So what happens is they go to the first overtime. They play 2 minutes. Then the second overtime is sudden death. So they put 10 minutes on the clock, which is objectively hilarious that they put 10 minutes on the clock. And then the first team to score wins because they need to get these games going and they need to finish these games. So the Mavericks, are back and forth with the Jazz, and then the Jazz Forrest goes up to the free throw line and he misses the first free throw, and then he makes the second one, and then waves goodbye to the Mavericks bench. Are you in or are you out on the waving goodbye after going 1 for 2 at the free throw line to win a Summer League game? If you're for it, what's his name? Forrest Lane.
No, I'm all out. Like what? Like we're gonna be waving bye.
Trent
to
Forrest.
You.
Sorry, Forrest Lane. Who was that?
Like we're probably gonna be waving bye to you when you're not in the league. So I don't. Yeah, I'm all out on that. Like it's cool to get like hyped at a summer league game, but when we're doing the waving, like there's a better chance that we're waving at you getting on a plane going to China to play your professional basketball than so
you take offense to this.
I just think it's just over the top. I mean, I guess I don't know much about Trent Forrest, so he could have had some big moments in his basketball.
He's on a two-way for the Jazz now, by the way.
Oh, here we go. David Locke probably loves him then.
That was such a great move. That was showing it to the other team, and you want to step on. He's probably
Rudy, just wait until Rudy sets him a pick, and you will see his full potential because Rudy's the MVP.
Speaking of Rudy Gobert and MVP, Udoka Azubuike was just like, Rudy Gobert-esque on the floor. He had he finished with 6 blocks. I think 5 of them were on Nate Hinton. Nate Hinton just kept driving into the paint and just didn't care if Azubuike was there. Just one of the weirdest things. But the big thing coming out of this game, besides the double overtime sudden death, is that Tyrell Terry has strained his groin or has pulled his groin, or injured his groin. We'll just leave it at that. And he was out. He left in the middle of the third quarter. He did not return. And my guess is he's probably not going to play another Summer League game. If the Mavericks are going to sit Josh Green after playing 19 games in the Olympics, if they're going to sit him that long through Summer League, then I don't think they're going to play Tyrell Terry anymore, which is just
19 games in the Olympics.
19 minutes in the Olympics. What did I say? Did I say games?
Games.
Man, what's going on with me? But I need a vacation. I think is what I need. Tyrell Terry is probably out of Summer League would be my guess, which is just really sad because it seemed like he was finally getting stuff going. He was finally figuring things out in this game. He had 10 points at halftime. He hit a 3. He had 3 of his 6 shots. He had a couple of assists there as well. So that stinks to see for Tyrell Terry.
Yeah, super bummer for him. I mean, that's when going into these games, that was the main thing we were talking about. Like, hey, we want to see if Tyrell Terry can show that he's going to be, a part of the rotation. Can he be a piece, a part of the team? And like Nico Harrison was asked about it in his in-game interview. Shout out to Nico from flying from Slovenia straight to Vegas, basically. But yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. I don't know how many of these guys will be around the team after Vegas, but we'll see. I mean, Robert Frank's hitting 5 threes in his game. That was fun. That's cool. They had Dakota Mathias, a Dallas Mavericks, legend, Texas legend on the other side. They also had a guy on their bench that I was so intrigued by. He got a DMP CD. DJ Funder Burke.
Ooh, Funder.
Yeah, so I just never heard that last name. I had to point that out. But didn't you have a Nico quote that you thought was interesting?
There's a couple interesting things from this game that I do want to get into after. But
the basketball?
Eugenio Marui, I thought had a really interesting game. He had 16 points.
Let's break down this game real quick. Let me pull up synergy.
16 points, 8 boards. He had a steal and an assist. He had 7 of his 10 free throws. I thought he was kind of the engine to get them back in this game because in this game, the Mavericks were down 10-0 to start the game. And then they came back and went on a 17-10 run at the end of the first quarter. And then they fought back again. And they just kept fighting back in this game. When Tyrell Terry went down, they didn't have their offense anymore. Like, it just seemed like anybody who hit a bucket was incredible. Like, oh, dang, that guy scored. It was amazing to watch. But I liked what I saw from Eugenio Marui. Robert Franks.
He's also the other two-way guy. The other day, I misspoke and said that, it's Terry and Hinton. Terry's not on a two-way. He has his own contract. So I misspoke on that. Marui's the other two-way with Nate Hinton.
Yeah, Robert Franks, 5 of 7 from 3.
I mean, him or Bledsoe, who's better at threes?
Robert Franks at this point. Even though I looked up Robert Franks and he was a redshirt at some point, like he was a transfer, and his first season in college, he took like no threes. His second year took like no threes. His third year, he shot like under or like close to like 32%. And then he finally, his senior year, his last year there, was taking threes and finally like started hitting them. And then, I mean, the stroke looked really good in this game. People were saying, why don't we just sign him to shoot threes?
I mean, possibly.
Tariq Owens also went out with an injury really early in this game. Looked brutal. That knee injury, it seemed really tough. Yeah. He did not come back. And then everybody else was, did stuff. Ferron Hunt had a couple of good drives. Carlik Jones had a couple of good drives. Devontae Shuler, he came out and he was looking good for a minute there. He had 3 threes. He had a couple of really good assists too. He was kind of the engine at the beginning of the fourth quarter for the Mavericks. You want me to break it down any further?
No.
Nico Harrison was on the broadcast. Like you said, 40 minutes after landing on the plane from Slovenia, he's on the broadcast. He looked so tired. He was trying to figure out where he was, I think. He's like, what is this gym? It's so small. Why am I here? Nico Harrison said 2 things I thought were really interesting. The first one, Nico said that he and Jason Kidd have been talking about being a GM and a coach specifically for an NBA team for years, like almost over 3 years. And he said it never thought it would happen, but it finally is in Dallas. I find that really interesting that they had been talking about it. It makes you wonder, what are the things that like you and I talk about? Like, oh, dang, it would be cool if we could call a game. And then like 3 years from now, we're calling a Mavericks game. Like, wouldn't that be wild?
That would be wild. that would be crazy. Or like we
because I think that's as crazy as what they were saying, right?
It is kind of funny because the package deal part, some people reported that and then they try to like debunk that of like, hey, no,
Yeah.
like I don't think it's not really that, and it sounds like they've dreamed of being the package deal for some franchise for years.
The other thing, he was on the broadcast with Jared Greenberg and Sam Mitchell, former Mavericks assistant coach and former Raptors coach and all that. And Nico Harrison said he remembers Sam Mitchell's shoe size, which makes me wonder how many players' shoe sizes does he know off the top of his head? If you remember Sam Mitchell's shoe size, it was a 13, by the way, but if he remembers that, now I just want to go up to Nico Harrison and just ask him, okay, what's LeBron's shoe size? What is just start thinking of random dudes and just name, like, what is Trent Forrest's shoe size? I wonder if how many he actually knows. If he knows Sam Mitchell still. Like, when's the last time he gave Sam Mitchell shoes?
I know. I do good. I mean, I still text my wife when I go to a Nike clearance store. I'm like, hey, you're still at 8, right? And I've been there for a while, 8.5. Or like I do this with our kids.
Your wife or your shoes?
She's at 8.5.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I mean, if anyone wants to send my wife shoes, you can send her shoes. Then I can use that money to go towards my shoe budget. And
another thing that Mark Stein said on his green room was that after Slovenia, Jason Kidd and Casey Smith went to Latvia to go visit Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh, not the whole crew, just like
the whole crew did not go to see Porzingis, just Jason Kidd and Casey Smith.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, Nico's back, and I guess Mark Cuban's doing something else. But
hey, they got some deals to work out. Is Laurie Marketing coming to Dallas? I'm just unhinged at this point.
If you've made it this far,
I'm so tired, and that Mavericks. I'm like old man, get off my lawn about the summer league at this point. I'm just not enjoying the basketball, and this is where I'm at. And honestly, media day is gonna be here next month, and we're gonna have literally like 5 weeks.
Is that true in September?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This is going to be the shortest feeling offseason ever, especially if the Dragic thing carries on for I don't know 1,000,000 years, and we're still getting people writing us saying, "Why are you talking about Dragic?
Why are you still talking about Dragic?" Well, until then, you and I and everybody else will be hitting
The wine, the wine, the wine, the wine.
I will never get over that. That's a consecutive quote. I didn't stitch that together. Like he said that 4 times in a row like that.
I think it's just the jet lag too.
You idiot.
We just got back from Slovenia, and I just want to say thank you again.
We are feeling some jet lag.
Thank you again for hosting our presser and just for the questions, and it just meant a lot.
Yeah, and then in the morning.
Good morning, Isaac.
You got a great wake up call. It was on the hotel phone.
Good morning, Isaac.
I quit.
Do I have to give an ending? Thanks for listening to this show. Go listen to a different one, I guess.
Go listen to Locked On Bulls and see how they want.
They're doing really well. Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.
Good morning, Isaac.